Good morning, Colleen.
Hello, love. How
It's
are
been
you?
it's been a couple of weeks now since we got together, and I've just been watching you all over. My goodness, you have just been so busy with
I
everything.
I have. You know what? I love being a voice. I love
Yeah.
getting out there and being a voice and all the things,
Listen to that. He heard you
listen.
say that.
Hello, lovey.
It
How
was
are you?
Charlie. Yeah.
Charlie. Charlie sounds like he's settled in his new digs.
Yeah, he is.
Yes.
He's a good boy. Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Well, your new place looks amazing in your new
I
studio. How
I know,
exciting.
I know. It's just phenomenal, and I get to be the cook, which I love to do. Kelly loves for me to
Ah.
cook, and she loves my food.
Oh,
What
I
more could
love
you
it.
ask for? Yeah.
Oh, and the big question is, does she do the dishes?
No, I do
No,
all that,
you
and
do
she
that?
handles everything regarding the house, which is stuff I don't wanna deal with.
Perfect.
Paying of the bills, that kind of stuff, I don't wanna deal with that, so it's a perfect situation.
That's
Well,
perfect.
they say soul sisters connect at all levels. I told you right before the show that we're actually connecting now telepathically.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
That's so
She says
awesome.
something and I know. I was just gonna say that. So, yeah,
That's
that's a good thing.
funny. You
Yeah.
know what? I have a handful of my girlfriends. We've already decided, and we years ago, my girlfriend Lee, years ago, we used, but we just said Boca Raton. So that's still kind of the joke between us. It's like, all right, when we all get to Boca, we're going to live in a village of women, and it's just going to be us. And we've got a few other friends. It's
Yeah.
invitation only.
Yeah,
But
right.
we've got our little group, and
Yeah,
yeah, we've already got a plan.
but they all have to be animal lovers.
Oh,
Oth
absolutely. Yeah.
Otherwise they don't fit. Yeah,
Too funny.
exactly.
Lee's allergic to cats, and when we got Rudy, I said, "You better start getting yourself immune because the kitty cat's coming." So,
Yeah,
yeah, we just plan ahead for it, But
right,
there'll be a house full of women and a house full of dogs
right.
for sure. Yeah.
Well, today we are talking about senior dogs because it's Saving Senior Dogs Week, and some of the horror stories that we hear through the years, I know you've heard them too, Colleen. So I know that we're going to depend on you to provide those resources that can help. So let me set up the scenario.
Okay.
Here you have a senior dog,
Oh, baby.
and this senior dog is in a home, might be with an elderly person, and most of the time, and many of the times it's with an elderly person, and all of a sudden they're confronted with a number of different issues. Either they're sick and they have to go into a nursing home or into hospice or something, and what do they do with their dog? Or the dog is sick and they can't afford the whatever the medication is, or whatever the vet says. Maybe they need surgery or something. So what they'll do is say, okay, I have no other choice. I'm going to resort to euthanasia.
Mhm.
And it tears these people apart having to do this. And then there are those people that have an older dog that say, oh, my dog no longer can walk. I don't want to deal with this. I
Mhm.
should have never have had a dog in the first place. But they say, okay, so I'm going to get rid of this dog and I'm going to relinquish it to a shelter or to a rescue, and I'm going to get a younger dog. So
Mhm.
here this older dog goes into a shelter and just has this terrible situation. How do we get somebody to adopt or foster that dog from the shelter? And what are some of the initiatives that we can possibly take to help them? And I know that end of life care is one of your great areas, but just
Mhm.
the issue itself about senior dogs is something that I think everybody is going to resonate with, and especially those like myself who have a 14-year-old right now.
Mhm.
I'm so protective of him. I just want to make sure he has the rest of his life living it in comfort and peace.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
So let's unpack everything you just said because there's a whole bunch in there. So let's
Right.
unpack it. So let's unpack let's unpack senior dog that is maybe I can't handle. I want to talk about this for 1 second with no shame, okay? I want to talk about senior dog that they can't afford they can't afford what the senior dog needs for treatment or for care or to fix something or whatever the case may be. And this is what I tell people all the time, Kathy. Euthanasia is an option. And it is a beautiful option. It is. And euthanasia does not mean failure. Okay. So as a loving pet parent, when I look at the options for an ill animal, you have to consider euthanasia because
Mhm.
we do have that as an option. Okay. And again, it's not a failure. If the amount of money doesn't fit within your budget, that's not to be shamed. It's not to be shamed. And if maybe what we're going to do because of the age of the animal, and we do the same thing with people, there's a certain time where you say, listen, we need to stop trying to fix it and lean in and say, listen, let's just do this in a beautiful way and lean in and do whatever we need to do to prepare for the end, because the end is
Yeah,
going to come. Everything that's going on in our world right now, it's this preventing death thing. And we're not going to. We're not going to prevent death. You
right,
don't prevent death. Death is going to happen. Okay. So for me, I embrace it. I embrace death because it is a part of what we go through. It's a part of life. It's a part of signing up as a pet parent. You
right.
you are going to face this, okay?
Mhm.
So, it's not an if, it's not I'm going to find a secret and I'm going to have a secret on the to get out of this. Not going to happen, okay? Eyes wide open. So, our senior animal, that maybe the money in our budget is a part of the discussion. And I tell people all the time when they call me, I want you to stand up and I want us to take the emotion out of this decision. Okay.
Mhm.
And let's look at what our options are. And every option is an option, including euthanasia. Okay.
Okay.
It's an
Yeah,
option. It is an option. And no shame for that. Euthanasia is not failure. It doesn't
right.
mean you didn't try. Okay. Now, that's one. So we unpack that one. Let's unpack the second one. The second one is I've got an elderly dog and I just can't deal with it. Now, to turn an elderly dog in and then go get a young dog.
Yeah. Where's my punching bag? I have a punching bag. Yeah. You think,
I,
are you really? Really, would
yeah,
you do that? Yeah.
you know,
That's like turning your child in because your child got older. Yeah.
I know. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because I want a
So,
younger one.
right. Let's maybe not talk about that one because there might be let's just leave that one on the table. All right.
Okay.
Let's talk about let's talk about senior person that oh hi Charlie. Let's talk about senior person that is now having to go into a nursing home or hospice themselves or whatever it may be. All right. This is a beautiful segue. You and I, tongue in cheek, started this show today with me telling you that my girlfriends and I have already planned ahead
Yeah.
for what we're going to do when we are all single and we know what we're going to do. And while it was funny, and it is funny, and we've been saying it for years, it truly is our plan. Okay. And we're
And that's the plan I'm in right now.
that's the plan you're executing on your
Yeah,
plan.
I'm
Okay.
the Golden Girls of Las
There you,
Cruces. My
there
friend
you,
Kelly and I, yeah, we're both single and bought a house together. Yeah.
yep. There you
Yeah.
go. So the key words in what you and I said is planning ahead. Okay.
Yes.
So I can go back to when my husband and I'm 55 and we did our will probably 10 years ago. At 45, we did our will. And in our will, we called out, specifically called out, and I remember saying this to our attorney, okay, while we're taking care of us, I need to make sure that legally my pets are taken care of too. Okay. I want them taken care of. Not
Right.
only do I want to call out where they're going to go, my mom is taking the cat and my sister-in-law is taking the dogs. Okay. So I called out where they're going. I called out the level of care and we specifically set money aside to have them taken care of in the event that something happened to both of us. Okay. We did that at 45. So for everybody listening, you plan ahead. You plan ahead for things that might not happen. When I was in the funeral business, we used to always say, I would tell people this: if you were going to go on a vacation and the day you left on vacation, you got your mail, all my preneed folks out there are going to be just laughing. And you got your mail, and in the mail, you got a notice that said the fire insurance on your house has been canceled. Before you went on vacation, would you go get that reinstated? And the answer, of course, is yes. As a
Yeah,
responsible
absolutely.
adult,
Right.
yes, you would. But the chances of having a fire at your house compared to the chances of you dying, do you know that's a one-on-one for you to
Right.
die? That's a 1-to-1 ratio, 1-to-1 chance of having a fire. Back in the day when I used to tell that story, it was like 1 in 80,000 or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, point being, we have these creatures, and so the responsibility we have in taking care of ourselves is also the responsibility of taking care of them.
Right.
Okay. Now, I shared with you my beautiful friend, Peggy Hoyt, who is an amazing attorney. And she is as amazing of an attorney she is equally and doubly, actually not equally, she's doubly beautiful as an animal advocate. She's a huge animal advocate. And part of her deal is, how do you take care of these pets so they don't end up in shelters? Because mom dies and she leaves a cat behind and nobody wants the cat, so it goes to the shelter after it's lived with her for X amount of years.
Exactly. And I don't understand, I think about it in retrospect. I never had it in my will either. I never had it. It was just word of mouth. If
Yeah.
something happens to me, here's what I want done.
Yep.
And hoping that that's going to be executed, but it needs to be put in writing, because there's so many times, just recently we had a dog here that after 4 days was found sitting on his owner's lap, and the owner had been dead for 4 days.
Oh.
Immediately the dog was taken away, but Barkhouse with Kelly, she was able to find a home for the dog. But what do you do in a case like that? This dog would have went to the shelter.
Yeah, exactly. So calling it out, all right, calling it out and saying, this is where I want them to go. But let's also think and be nice, all right? Because for me to tell and to call out the level of care that I want for them, the veterinary care, and also what I want to have happen when they die, which is I wanted my animals cremated, and then we want their ashes sprinkled on our grave, okay?
Right.
Or added with our urn, one or the other. But that's not fair to give up that expense to my mother and to my sister-in-law. And so we put the money aside too that says we're going to help financially. I mean, let's all flash back to Leona Helmsley.
Yeah,
remember
right.
that? $12 million to her dog Trouble.
Yeah.
Now, you do know it was overturned, right?
Right.
It was overturned because it was unrealistic. So Trouble in the end got a more realistic number in the estate plan, which was $2 million. I love that story. Sorry, I love it. I love it. So she called it out. She had the money set aside. Now she went to, I'm not going to say extremes because it wasn't extremes for her. She went to the whole process of saying what Trouble was going to eat every day and how Trouble was going to sleep and what Trouble was going to, be taken care of with, all that kind of stuff. But the point of the story, the moral of the story, is take care of your animals. Yet you're going to die and your pets are going to die. Okay. And as I always tell everybody, if you're going to stick your head in the sand and believe that that's not going to be true, you got another part of your body that's exposed.
Right.
So you got your booty in the air, and let's be realistic. It's going to happen. So figure out how to take care of them. Figure out what to do with them. Now, let's go with Barkhouse. Let's go with a company like Kelly's. I had a friend of mine, Roberta Knopf, and she worked in the Columbus, Ohio area. Beautiful pet memorial service there under Schettinger Funeral Home. And she got together with her local shelters and came up with what they called a senior contract. Because let's face it, a lot of senior people won't get pets because they're fearful that they're going to die before the pet, right?
Right.
Okay.
And they definitely don't want to get a puppy because of that. Because
exactly.
Yeah, right. But they may consider a senior dog.
Might, but listen, here's the other deal. So Roberta got together with the shelters in Columbus and came up with a senior contract that the contract between the person and the shelter said, should you die before your animal dies, we promise you we will rehome the pet.
Oh, well, that's good.
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
And so the comfort that it gives somebody, it says, all right, I don't have to worry about that. I know he's going
Mhm.
to be taken care of. I know he's going to be taken. Isn't
And
that delicious?
how do
Hi,
they do
Joe.
that though?
How do they do?
How does somebody do that? How did they make certain that they have that in place? Is that where your friend comes in, where we're going to talk
Well,
about her right now?
Well, yeah, could be through the will, but it also could be that the gentleman, I have one guy in mind because she told me the story, and we use this story all the time when we talk about senior pets and all that. And the minute that he saw that contract, he's like, I'm ready to do this then. Let's do
Yeah.
this. And so my guess is, now I don't know this, and that's a great question. My guess is that there was communication with the family or the next of kin or whoever was legally responsible for him that said, listen, Buffy, should something happen to Bob, Buffy goes back to whatever county humane society,
Mhm.
and then Buffy will be rehomed. And so that's how that deal works. So, the other point, I'm glad you brought that part up because I don't know the exact answer, but here's what I do know. Communication to your next of kin, communication to the people around you, communication via paper. I mean, every time Chris and I go on a vacation together, knowing that when we're in the middle of the air between here in Barcelona or here in Italy or here and wherever, should something happen, my kids need to know where to find our paperwork, right?
Right.
Every time we leave, I take a picture of it on the shelf and I say, Amy, just a reminder,
Yeah.
here's where it's at.
Yeah. Just in
You know?
case.
Yeah. And I'm just being realistic,
Yeah.
I'm sure she's like I am with my mom that says, oh my God, I don't want to think about it. Well, guess what? I don't either. But again, can't stick our head in the sand. So should
Right.
something happen, the last thing I want you guys doing is tearing this house apart, going, where did they put their will? I forget.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to know. Here's where it's at. Here's where the animals are supposed to go.
Right. Well,
Period.
you had mentioned a while ago on one of our shows before about, having it in your will, but making certain that there's either an addendum or an amendment or something that is that goes into action immediately rather than waiting for the time of the will, because the chances of the dog or cat being taken out of the home and putting into a shelter and possibly being euthanized are very high after someone passes.
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
exactly. So when you work with somebody like Peggy, she'll get it locked up into your estate planning, and
okay,
if,
is this our
oh
friend
yeah,
here?
show her. So there you go.
Okay.
And again, huge animal advocate, Peggy Hoyt. Now she's in Florida. But don't hesitate to contact her. Look, Pet Trust right there. Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah.
Kathy, do you want to know something? The average Pet Trust right now, the average amount of money that people are setting aside to take care of their pets, should something happen to them or their spouse and them together, the average Pet Trust right now is $25,000.
Really?
Mm-hmm. $25,000.
Okay.
Now that, I look at my animals, 25, would I put 25? I probably would, because I got a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old and an 11-year-old pussycat. So I probably would put that amount. But if you've got an elderly animal, even setting aside just a little bit to help defray expenses. Don't think you have to do $25,000. My goodness. But look at that. Look what's on the screen. Planning for their future. What if something happens to you? What's going to happen to them? What is going to happen to them? So Peggy, and even if you've got to contact us, you've got Peggy's phone number there. Tell her I said to call you. I love that, Joe. Where there's a will, there's a relative.
Yeah, right.
But you know what, Joe? Sometimes it's those relatives that are the worst. And so you're like, I got to go at least find somebody that will take this thing. Somebody that will. Now I happen to have, and it sounds like you might, Joe and Kathy, you might. I'm so blessed to have pet lovers in my family that I know that they'll be taken care of immediately. But if you don't, as Kathy said, between death and the reading of the will, there's a gap. Okay. So there is a linking contract that goes during that time frame that says until the will is read, here's what's to happen with the animals.
Mhm.
Here's where they're supposed to go. So somebody like Peggy or your own personal attorney or whatever, they can help you with that, to know what linking contract you're going to need and how legally to get these animals set up into your estate plan, into your will, into your planning ahead docs, into all that kind of stuff.
Okay,
Get it
let's
set up.
look more on Peggy here now.
Ah,
I put her link into the description here, folks, or in the comments, so you can go ahead and look at it. But now,
scroll up a minute, Kathy, before you go down. Scroll up. Look, she talks about this notebook. Come down a little bit more. It's like the fourth paragraph. Formulate your written action. You got to tell people where's just like a babysitter. Where's
right,
the
yeah,
veterinarian? What meds are they on? What is their health issue right now? You've got
right.
to have all of that stuff written down. Or if nothing else,
Excuse me, everyone. I'm sorry for the noise in the background. It'll just be over in a minute. Okay, go ahead.
okay, I didn't even hear it, Kathy.
Okay,
Yeah. So you've got to have all that stuff written down, just like a good mommy would do when they go out, and a good daddy when they would go out and need to leave instructions with a caretaker.
right.
You've got to have all that stuff down on what do they want. I'm seeing in their feeding instructions. This is the one area I die laughing when I read that, because I home cook for my animals. And so
Yeah,
my mother always says to me, I do not want to babysit your animals, because it is not like throwing a bucket of kibble into a bowl.
right,
It's a process. It is an absolute process. But you got to have that stuff down so
right.
people know. Yeah. And I love that. Thanks, Joe, for pointing that out. That is, turn to your local shelters, turn to the bark houses, whatever types of groups you have within your community, and ask the questions. Ask your veterinarian, what do you guys know? What resources do you know that I could use as an option should something happen to us?
Right.
Okay. So if you don't have a network, if you don't have a group of peeps that you can turn to, start talking to people. Look at that. Look at all the places that she gives you. Like I said, Peggy's in
Yeah,
Florida.
yeah,
And if nothing else, I started this thought and I didn't finish it. If nothing else, contact Peggy and say, listen, I live in Ohio. Who can help me? I live in Colorado. Who can help me? I live in California. Who can help me? So but you've got resources like this that you can turn to and ask the questions. That's the big deal right now. It's just doing your due diligence, just like you would do for anything else in your life that you plan for and that you prepare for and that you document for, in every aspect. You gotta go do some research. You gotta ask
right.
questions. You gotta bring in the professionals that can help you.
Exactly. And
Look at all
thanks
that
to, yeah, it
stuff.
is a national organization. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it looks here, it says that, so she founded the Animal Care Trust USA. Is that, let's see what that is.
Let's go there.
Yeah, let's go there. Oh, here you go. I'm
Look
going to
at
put that
that.
in the description too.
Put that down there. Look at that. I mean, that you've got just a wealth of it. I need to let Peggy know that I'm putting all this stuff out there. I forgot
Okay,
to even
yeah.
tell her I was
Yeah,
talking
so
about
let's
this
see what
today.
this is about. Online resources,
Yeah.
support Animal Care Trust. Okay, join our network. All My Children podcast. Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, her book, All My
They're
Children
free.
Were for Coats. It's
Oh, yeah,
amazing.
that's right. Yeah.
Yep. I've been on there. I don't know how long ago this was, but I've had the opportunity to sit with her, and it's just the work she does in just raising awareness for this. There you go. That book is amazing. It's
Yeah.
absolutely amazing. So it's just that one, when we get those puppies and kitties, we research what they need for their care and their food and their yada yada yada, this and that and the everything. So this is one more part. And just because you research it, it doesn't mean you have to like it. I don't like it either, but I'm also a very responsible pet mommy. And this is just one more part of being a responsible pet mommy.
That's right.
One
That's
more
right.
part.
That's right. Okay, so what is the next portion of how do we handle this? What if we don't have a family to tell about
Again,
where things are?
this is where I would turn. If it was me, I'd turn to two groups. Number one, I'd ask my veterinarian. Okay.
Okay, good
Who
point.
who do you know that could help me? Because I'm getting ready to go into a nursing home, or I just found out I have, a terminal diagnosis and I'm going to need to find some care for this dog. So number 1, I would ask my veterinarian. Number 2, I would turn to the shelters and the rescue groups within the community that that person would live, and I would tell them, this is what's about to happen to me. Can you help me? Okay.
Okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, definitely. Just reach out and ask the questions and find out what you need. Find out
Right.
who they can guide you to. And if it's not them, let me tell you something. And even with an elderly dog, oh, you know what? I'll hold that one. We'll do that one next. But reach out and ask the questions. You just put the link out there for Peggy Hoyt. And I'm going to guess that she's also got a network of folks that she can guide you to too.
Agree.
As,
Okay,
as,
great. A
as
support group.
Exactly.
Okay.
That can help out. But I would be shocked. I would be shocked. Now, I've not researched this, but I would be shocked if there wasn't somebody within a community that wouldn't step up to help out, knowing the situation.
Yeah.
Okay. Knowing the situation.
Okay.
So ask the questions, just like anything else that you got to do. You got to ask the questions. You got to reach out. So let's do that. So
Okay.
now let's talk about an elderly animal. Stop it. What is this?
Yeah.
What is this bucket of love?
This is a senior sanctuary.
Oh,
All of these dogs were ones that were going to be either they were given up by their family or they're ill.
mm-hmm.
So yeah, and
So
see that's
somebody
the case
came in.
too.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got a lot of these communities that shelters have put into place what they call hospice. PAW.
Hospice?
Hospice.
What
Yeah.
is hospice?
Hospice is hospice for senior dogs within a shelter.
Really?
So they call it
Wait a minute.
hospice.
I'm in a hospice.
And my
Hospice.
PAWSPICE.
Hospice. Okay.
Hospice.
Okay.
Beautiful friend, Dr. Alice Villalobos, came up with this terminology. I think she was the one that founded it, that coined that phrase. But anyway, from my understanding, nobody hold me to this, all right? But from my understanding, this concept started out in some shelters in California.
Okay.
Where they had senior pets, and of course they didn't want them just to die in a cage, in a run. And so they put them out into beautiful, beautiful, loving, angels on earth homes where these senior animals would basically go to die. And I know, coming out of Indianapolis, I used to do a pet loss support group there. And I had a young lady, she came every month, bless her heart, because her whole deal is she would go into a shelter and find an elderly, sick animal, and she would adopt him and bring him home. So every month at Pet Loss Support Group, I just wanted to eat her up with a spoon. She was so beautiful. Her heart was so big. And of course, she dealt with loss all the time because that's what she adopted, and she was good with it. She was good. That's what she signed up for. And in her heart, the opportunity to give a precious, beautiful old soul a beautiful ending was bigger than the grief she was going to go through, even though she'd only have him for just a little teeny tiny bit.
Right.
Still developed a connection, and she was still able to give them a home. Now, I'm going to tell you, that is not something I could do. That is not meant for everybody. I could not do that. That just would be, but I know that. I know my limitations. But there are just some beautiful angels on earth out there that can do that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Joe says I work in forensic cleaning, and we often work with clients who need help with pets being rehomed. My boss now has 8 dogs.
Heart. Yeah. See, that's why I never am a foster, because I'd be the epitome of foster failure. I'd be the epitome. And I just know my limitations. So, but I'll support those people all day long that do that. And I'll do whatever I can to help back them up and to bring them whatever I can bring them. And Kathy, another resource for some of our seniors, Meals on Wheels now helps out with bringing food to dogs too, and to pets in
Mhm.
homes. And so that's another resource, is to talk to the Meals on Wheels driver and just say, hey, listen, I'm now
Right.
going to have to be going to the next level of care outside of my home. And so you're not going to be coming anymore. And therefore, I've got to find somewhere for the dog to go to, or the cat to go, or whatever.
Right. Yeah, Kelly was just talking about that, the Meals on Wheels, about bringing, actually, Meals on Wheels seems to be doing a lot of things above and beyond Meals on Wheels. They're bringing groceries,
Oh
prescriptions, a
my
lot of
goodness.
things, especially during times of COVID, they're bringing them now for the seniors. So
Yeah,
it just makes sense that if you have a pet that needs food or whatever, bring it to them too.
absolutely. The
You know?
point being is that you've got to look at your entire village and
Right.
ask, can I turn to you? Maybe I'm not asking you to take the dog. I'm just asking you to help me find somebody or somewhere that I can safely put him. So
Right.
I know he just doesn't end up. And you know what? At the end of the day, there are beautiful shelters out there. And even if the animal has to go to a shelter, let's also talk about that. There's two types of shelters out there. There's a kill shelter and a no kill shelter. I'm just saying it, you know.
Yeah.
So
Okay, where are you going?
if I knew he was going to go to a shelter, I would at least ask, are you a no kill shelter?
What an excellent point. You're absolutely right. People don't do that.
No, ask the question, because they will tell you. They will tell you.
Mhm.
And or at least I would hope they would tell you. But ask the question and say, what will happen when he comes there? Does he have 3 days? Or will you do your darn best? Because I mean, how many of these shelter stories have you read where the animal's been there for 2 years and finally found a forever home?
Yeah.
No?
Well, the real truth is that all shelters are really kill shelters, because they will, even a no kill will euthanize if an animal is sick, or so they
Not
will.
adoptable. Yeah,
Right.
that's exactly right, but it's not
Right.
for space. There's
Right.
a difference. Yeah.
Right.
So if you've got an animal that, again, even if they're sick, and it's sick in a way that we can do some hospice, then maybe those animals still do get to go home. If it's an animal that is just that it would be irresponsible to adopt that animal out because it's been aggressive, or it's bitten somebody, or whatever it's done, then a shelter has to be responsible.
Right. Yeah.
They've got to be responsible in their processes. And I get
Right.
that. I can't shame them for that. And I wouldn't ask them to do anything different. And I know those people do whatever they can do to make sure that it is exactly the thing that needs to happen. I know they do that. I trust that. I have to trust that, because I can't believe anything different,
Right.
from
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
being. I can't believe anything different. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So ask the questions. I keep saying that. That's our entire thing today, is ask
Right.
questions, for God's
Yeah.
sake. Ask questions.
Yeah. Because these are your babies, and they're
Yep.
your babies for life. They are
Yep.
family.
Yep.
And if you don't take care of them and give them the love and everything that they deserve, there's something about an older dog that they have that wisdom, just like we do when we get older. I mean, I know myself that the things I used to worry about before, I don't care. It just doesn't
No,
matter anymore. It's just like,
no.
oh, who cares?
Yeah.
And a dog is the same way. They just get, that's why I think a lot of times they don't like to be around puppies, because puppies are so rambunctious and they're all over. And the older dog is just, oh, God, chill.
Yeah.
All I want is peace and quiet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to run around. I don't want to play. I want my meals given to me. I
Yeah.
want to be taken out when I want to go out. I don't want to have to go out when you want to go out. And I don't want
Yeah.
to play when you want to play.
Yeah.
So I think they just deserve that time to be able to relax. If you uproot them and put them into a new home and into a new environment, I can see where they would just shut down.
Yeah, but
And
you know what,
after they give
Kathy?
up.
My next book. Oh, I'm so excited about my next book.
What
It's
is it?
oh my goodness. And this is the beta name. This isn't the exact name, but it's going to be everything I learned about life and business I learned from my dog. And think about this. Think about a dog who has come into a new living situation at whatever point in their life. They've got to learn new rules, they've got to learn a new house, they've got to eat new food, they've got to learn new personalities, they've got to learn a new communication system. They've
Mhm.
got to learn it all. But here's what I love about dogs. They're resilient and they do it. So
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. The old adage, you can teach an old dog new tricks.
right,
So you bring an old dog in, and here's what I love about dogs. They leave the past in the past for the most part. They forgive and they move on. They
right,
bring their love and their wisdom into a new living environment. They bring it without asking anything, demanding anything. They come, they just be, they learn the new things. You can teach the old dog new tricks, and they just settle in. They
yeah,
settle in. I mean, there's something about the lessons we can learn from animals if we open ourselves up and we pay attention, and you look at an old animal who comes into a home. I mean, think about taking an elderly person and going, "Hey, you're going to go live with these guys," and they're like, "Wait, what?" I
yeah,
mean, that just becomes a whole bunch of dynamics that become hard to unpack. But an old dog, bring me in. I'm
mhm,
good.
yeah,
I'm good.
right, yeah, right.
I'm good. I love it.
So,
I
Joseph,
know.
if I am ever in a position to do so, like when I win the lottery, the first thing I'm gonna do is buying a
Yeah.
big property to have a dog ranch home, a
You
dog
know,
rescue home, yeah.
I always laugh when I read that because that's kind of what I say all the time too when I win the lottery. And at mass one day the priest was saying, "Yeah," he goes, "I always talk about what I'm going to do when I win the lottery." And he said, "Finally, God said to me as I prayed every week, God, just let me win the lottery because I'm going to do this and I'm going to do this." And he said, finally, after weeks of praying, finally God said, "Buy a ticket."
Good advice, that's for
I
sure.
know, right?
Yeah,
He's like,
right.
"God, help me out." And he's like, "I can buy a ticket."
Okay,
That's
Colleen, wonderful show. Any final thoughts you wanna give to the audience about, uh,
uh
their senior dog? And I
Yes.
know you don't wanna
And
touch about the subject of those that abandoned them. We won't go there.
no,
Okay.
can't do that in my psyche today.
Okay.
So, yeah, here's what I'm gonna leave you with. Ask questions, plan ahead, put it in writing, figure out what you're gonna do. It's your responsibility as a good pet owner,
Okay.
period.
Alright.
But
Okay,
you gotta
girlfriend. We will see you in a couple of weeks. Have a
do it.
wonderful, wonderful weekend, and thanks again for a lovely show.
You're welcome. Thank you,
Okay.
honey.
Okay.
Okay, bye,
Bye.
y'all.
Bye.